Current market on Veve has been continuing to decrease, and you can definitely see some of the community sentiment that the hype is dying down, people are getting out and they're just not enjoying the app the way they used to. So today we're going to talk about market trends. We're going to try to understand a little bit about what's happening, if this is normal, and what we should be looking for moving forward. So let's get started. Welcome in everyone, my name is Andy and I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come and watch this video on the channel. Just before we get going, if you are enjoying the content and you want to support me further, you can hit a subscribe button, and if you want to support me further than that, you can join the membership. So back when I started on Veve, there was an aim of 60,000 users on the app, and I got in early April. I was trading my way up a little amount of gems and I was getting things I loved. Things weren't extremely overpriced, you know, you had the Todd McFarlane at maybe 200 gems, you had Riso who was sitting at about 2k at the time, so it was really out of my reach, and then you had a few other things here and there, golden logos that were just out of reach for most people. And it really was an insane time to be a part of something like that and seeing what these prices were, what people were pricing them at, if these could even go to anything. Now, I remember seeing Chad's video months and months ago when I'd first got into it, talking about Todd McFarlane and how he could surpass 1,000 gems. Now, my aim at the time was to get a Todd. That was my sole aim for coming on this app. I saw Todd McFarlane Batman, I loved the app, I loved Batman, and I really wanted that. That was the first one I wanted to trade my way to. And eventually I got it. I got one for 250 gems, and I was over the moon because watching Chad's video and understanding further what this could potentially be because of the community behind it, the significance behind Todd and more, made me more attached to what it was. Fast forward a couple months after that, and genuinely we are talking a couple months after that, Todd surpassed 1,000 gems, and it blew my mind that this was the case. But even fast forward again a few months after that, Todd hit all-time highs of around about 13k. And to me, it was just insane to think about that having even been a possibility for something like that. I want this journey and this small story to just show you that it is possible for things to move in ways that you maybe don't realize is possible. You know, on Veve, things have changed so drastically in the last few months that it really seems surreal of joining back in April and seeing where we're at now compared to where we were at. But I do understand all of the frustrations that people have in terms of not delivering on time and things just not coming out at the right schedule and all that sort of stuff. I do understand it. But when people were complaining about markets decreasing and taking retractions and all that, especially when they really did boom so high in January, it just kind of feels a little bit weird. Again, that is more targeted towards the older people on the app. I do understand if you invested in mid-January, you're probably seeing massive decreases in what you bought. But again, it's never usually the best to buy in at the all-time high when everyone is talking about it, well, because that's usually where FOMO kicks in. So it's a good lesson if this is your first investment and you got in because of FOMO. Take notes of this. Don't buy in when everyone is on cloud nine and thinks everything will never go back down. So now we have seen quite big retractions. Some have retracted 80% from all-time highs, some have halved easily and more. We're beginning to see that frustration sort of come out in different areas. You know, in January, there was no talk about any of this, and now because things are maybe not as priced the same way, everyone is up in arms, pitchforks out, they just drop everything. And I do get some of them, I genuinely do. I understand that we want things out, I want the MCP out, I want MTL out, I want this business to move forward because at the end of the day we've got investments in it, so we want to see it do good, and we also want to see the company succeed as well as a lot of other people who have been able to meet in this community succeed too. But with market trends, with this sort of stuff, is it normal? Is this something we should be worried about? Well, to me personally, no. I got into cryptocurrency before Veve, and Veve was my first sort of NFT platform, but I quickly got into OpenSea after that. And you see this in every single market, and it doesn't even matter what it is. It happens in NFTs, and OpenSea, on Polygon, and Immutable. It happens on Veve, it happens on the stock market, it happens with cryptocurrency. It happens with just about everything. And the fact that people do believe that this will consistently go up and never go down, just kind of blows my mind a little bit, and it makes me realise how little research people are not doing for this. We've discussed this quite a few times on here about how Veve is financial investment someone has actually made. And I've said constantly, I really would hope no one would make their first financial investment NFTs because a lot of them are not sustainable, they're volatile. It's maybe quite hard to understand who's the true builders of this sphere right now and who's the people just looking to get a quick buck out of you. So how do I sort of see this play out over the next coming months? Well, At the end of the day, not many of us individuals anyway have control on what goes on. Business practices are a lot more challenging than people may think. And because Veve is in the NFT atmosphere, they are expected to move like an NFT company, where they can probably deliver on quite a lot. If it's an individual artist, they've made their own stuff and they're moving forward with that. But when you come to branded, licensed IP, it becomes a lot more complicated. You know, there's hundreds of emails that need to be sent out in order for licenses to actually be accepted. There's so many back and forths. There's so many tests that have to be done. And it is a lot different to a normal NFT platform. And this is why I'm seeing this sort of change and shift, because I think people are expecting Veve to move the same way as like an individual artist would, with their utility and with their roadmap. Now, again, I want to make this point very, very clear. Veve have promised on things and they've not delivered for it. I never like that ethos. Under promise, over deliver. Always, always, always. That is the motto that I think every company should stick to. But I still do believe in what the company is planning to do and what the company are moving forward with. And I think this demanding of pitchforks and not looking for solutions and to try to help them become better, it is causing a lot of negativity in the space. Maybe not for the right reasons. We're in quite a lot of turmoil just in general at the moment. The things happening in Ukraine right now, we're coming up to tax season for a lot of people, and just still dealing with COVID as we're just passing this first one. There really is so much that you could go over in regards to this, and why market trends certain ways and why things happen in certain ways. But I really don't think this should be something that worries you too much if you're convicted in what your financial investments are, which you really should be, because at the end of the day, it's your money, so you need to do the research in order to believe in something or not. Let's actually have a look at the further, wider scope a little bit further, just to understand maybe what's going on, what we can see from this, and why we actually have to look at other areas first before we're solely on that. Because if a lot of you are solely on Veve, and that's the only place you're making investments right now, you probably don't actually see any other areas. Your tunnel vision is just there. So we're going to have a look at other things, and I'll show you on the screen what I mean. So if we go for the last 30 days in regards to OpenSea products, right now for OpenSea in general and just everything in general, we're sort of in a bear market. Things are all going down. We can see this from like the volume and the percentage of the last 7 days. You know, everything's down. There's a few things, don't get me wrong, that are up. Definitely there are, and there always will be. There's always going to be some things that are up, some things are down. But for the majority of here, you're seeing easily 60%, 50%, 50%, 25%, 55% retractions, 76% retractions from these things that are in the top collections of OpenSea. And then again, if we go to Veve itself, you can see with the last 30 days in regards to the OMI price, we're down 43%. It doesn't surprise me this is the case. Some of the newer things are down as well. Some of them are up, you know, 12% increase, 1% increase. The thing is, you're seeing these things here and they're going to absolute nothing. And yet we're still seeing probably more increase in prices of these things than you will on OpenSea. But because we're so fixated on Veve itself, then we're not looking at other places. Even here, we've got the 5%, 10% increase. Then we've got the 1% increase. We've got a little bit of a decrease. We've got an increase of Batgirl, a 1% decrease with Harley Quinn. It does go to show that although we're seeing quite a lot of retraction with these things, still deals to be made. There's still things that are increasing in price and they're above their market floor. So if you are getting them on the drop and you're able to sell them on, if that's your plan, or you just really enjoy Veve, then this is the perfect time for you to get in. If you believe in a company, then you go through them through thick and thin. There's going to be bumps in the road. No company ever succeeds all in the one go, and it's just how companies work, you know, they don't always go up. And I'm just trying to give you some perspective here. I really want to make this clear that if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know I'm not some sort of moon boy for Veve. I'm not telling you that everything is going to go to £10 billion. I'm not telling you that OMI coin is going to $500. I'm trying to give you logical facts here, backed up with data. Told people on here plenty of times how volatile NFTs are and why you should be putting your money elsewhere if you've not got the disposable income to lose. What I want to see more people do is just open their horizons a little bit further. Even if we look at the stock market, right? The S&Ps, the FTSEs, we're going to look at the ones that are meant to be the most stable investments that you can make. Year-on-year average of around 10% growth over the last, 70 years it's shown. So if we look at the FTSE indices, we can see a decrease of 3.5%, 3.5%, 3.6%. We can see here decreases of 3.3%. There's decreases all across the board, and I'm guessing it's going to be the exact same. If we go on to Coinbase for the last month, you can see more often or not, the prices of these things for the last month have decreased in price. Not many of them have went up, and this is for a lot of different reasons. We can see the stuff like the geopolitical things going on in Ukraine at the moment. We can also see a lot of things happening just in general with the market and how companies are moving forward with COVID and support in certain areas and more. There's just so much more to it than most of us actually know and do the research for, that shifts these things in areas that we are never going to have the knowledge to be able to understand. And this is why it's so important to actually know where your money's going, why your money's going there, and maybe why you're holding or why you're selling. Another thing I'm going to take you through is just a stock in general, because although NFTs aren't stocks, they can sometimes work in that sense where they are something that can go up and down depending on supply demand. They've got things that influence their price for certain reasons. So if we look at the Google stock, where we've got the date back from 2004, all right? See, the price starts around, $53, makes a fantastic run up all the way to $350. And then we see a massive decrease in price. This is the financial crisis that actually happened, all the way down to 150. It starts to recover at certain points. But do you see here that when we zoom in, there's a great run up here to 382, and it goes all the way back down to 322. And this is in 2012? But we continue to see a great run up. We have a massive dip here, $532. And if we go in the last 5 years, when we come to it and we zoom out, you can kind of see what we're meaning here when we zoom out of things. I'm not saying that NFTs and cryptocurrencies and all Veve collectibles and all OpenSea projects are all going to do this. They're all going to form this habit. But I want it to show how important it is to do your research on certain things and why it's never good to actually consistently rise. We need drastic falls to match the supply and demand that's happening for people to get in at certain prices. And for me, I'm taking a lot of notes here when it comes to prices of things, how communities react, and how the general consumer is acting right now. In mid-January, I saw everyone absolutely buzzing about themselves, about their vault valuations, about their NFTs, about their crypto stocks going up. And then when it came to February and obviously the crisis started happening, things plummeted, everyone started panicking. And it's so interesting to me because I wasn't a part of the social media boom or the internet boom, or when YouTube first came out, or Patreon first came out, or PayPal first came out. You know, a lot of these things, from what I've heard, weren't actually accepted very well in the beginning, but over time became something of the consumer norm. People now love them, they use them every day, and they might not like all of their practices, but they're still a part of their world. And I think this is very, very important to look at when we're examining our stocks or NFTs, what we're in and why your investments are there, reasons for it, and more. Because what I'm looking at is how consumers are reacting and how I can take advantage of that. For me personally, I still fully believe in what Veve are going to do. And yes, I'm disappointed just like you with some of the things that have been promised and not actually delivered. It does genuinely frustrate me because my ethos has never been that, and I think you should just work in the background and get the stuff done. But because there's so many consumers now, there's a high expectation of things were promised and now are not delivered, and therefore they can see all of the tweets and all of the things that were spoken about months prior that have not been done. But if you genuinely believe in a company to fulfill what you're looking for, then it's not going to come in the blink of an eye. These things take years to happen, and this was always a year's plan for me, you know, 5, 6, 7 years easily when I got into this. I knew that was going to be the case because I know how challenging things in the business world can be. For other things, yes, great. I've got out in 3, 6, 12 months and have made my profits or my losses and just moved on as it didn't work out the way I'd wanted it to. If I come back to this video in 5 and 10 years and it's nowhere near I wanted it to be, then so be it. I've learned a valuable lesson of investing, and maybe what I should look for next time as to how it could be improved or what team I should look for in regards to that. But as of right now, I'm watching the market and I'm watching the consumers to see how they're moving and how they're actually reacting to when times get bad. I didn't really want to make this video solely on one topic of just in general overview of your financial investments. But I do think it's important to learn more about this and to just understand your investments more, why you do them, why you got into them, and how you can improve for next time, and realize that everything can't always go up, and these massive retractions can actually be really good for the future of the product. There was also a time in January and even in the original pump up in November after Disney where people thought they were never going to have the opportunity to own certain collectibles again. But now that everything's retracted heavily, they can own it, but are not buying because they maybe don't believe in it, or everyone else is being negative towards that field. I think you have to stay in your own lane when it comes to this, because if you've done the research, then you should know what you're doing and what you're getting into. And I just want to make that a further sentiment to everyone who's in crypto, NFTs, stocks, real estate, anything. You've got to know what you're doing, and you've got to stay in your own lane. People are going to try to influence you in every single direction to pull you in the direction that they want to see you go. And that's usually just how the world works anyway. But become open-minded to thinking for yourself. Sounds a little bit weird saying that, but it is something that I really believe in. You've got to make the decisions for yourself and what's best for you at the time. Someone's situation is going to be completely different to you. So if you can look out a little bit further, try to compare and contrast, it can maybe be done better for yourself, and who knows, you might actually come out on top. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what we've discussed today. Is it something that you've been looking at a little bit more, or are you sort of just over with everything that's going on? Be sure to let me know down below. I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.